Hello and welcome to Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. In today's podcast, I'm with Jeremy Greggs and his partner, Ginny Lee. They've been doing absolutely amazing in the property investment industry. They literally come from being teachers or network marketer to building a massive deal sourcing property portfolio. Not just that, they're building their own portfolio along the way as well. As I said, the story is not as good as it is until it's been told by the person himself or the two people themselves. So really, Jeremy and Ginny, would you like to tell our audience a bit about yourselves before we get going?
Love to, Raheem. Would you like to do ladies first, Ginny, or would you like me to start?
No, you can go. You can go.
Raheem, I love your energy, by the way, and it's really nice to be bigged up, because I think sometimes when you get into the day-to-day and you're working flat out, and sometimes you forget to realise where you've got to, really. And it's been a real journey for me. I'm 50 years old and I was a teacher for 20 years, which I loved. I loved doing my job, but my passion was always property. And we've ended up now 7 hours away from where we live in northeast Lincolnshire, in Grimsby and Cleethorpes. And we've built an end-to-end service, basically. So we started as deal sources in this area after working with Samuel Leeds on his academy. And we tried, I think it's 13 different patches, because we're down in Cornwall where property is quite high and the rents, relatively speaking, are a little bit lower compared to where we are. And you know, after doing the training for 12 months back in 2018, you know, we went from Birmingham, went to Blackpool, all the way across the country over to Hull. We spent time in Burnley and Preston and all sorts of different places until we found our patch. And if I remember rightly, there was a very wise man said, you need to dominate your patch. And we arrived there as deal sources. We got very, very good at finding high cash flowing properties, that residential properties, C3 properties, and converted them into C4 smaller HMOs. We don't tend to deal with larger HMOs, it's up to 6 beds. And we've got a very good working relationship with the local authority here, who I found for HMOs are probably the most regulated that I've come across the whole country, you know, in all the different places that we've looked. But we've really enjoyed working with them. They're very, very positive here, and they want to work with people that want to invest in high quality compliant HMOs. So we offer an end-to-end service from deal sourcing, refurbing, getting properties compliant and tenant ready, and then letting them and maintaining them. And it's been a journey. We're currently merging with a company called Apex. Our company is called Sienna. And it's really my opportunity. It's my dream to be working in property all day, every day. And I'm looking on Ginny's face now sometimes, because we're partners as well in life. And sometimes I'm coming in, all I want to do is talk about property, and Ginny's going, yes, I can see. But it's been a pleasure. Ginny and I have been together for about 6 years now, and it's been a pleasure to see her come on board with the property. And I think she's got some quite exciting news for you.
Fantastic. Okay, brilliant then. Thanks very much for that, Jeremy. Very inspiring way to start your property investment journey. So yes, Ginny, if you could tell us then what really inspired you to come into properties, and yeah, if you could tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you. So I'm also 50 years old, and property was never my thing, really. It was never my dream. It's never been something which I've been inspired by. I like houses. I've always liked houses, but not from an investment perspective ever. So for me, it's been a really interesting journey. I am currently a teacher. I've been a teacher for 28 years. And I started on my property journey about 3 years ago, when Jeremy and I both started looking at deal sourcing. And it was great for me to be able to actually put my mind to something which wasn't just education. It was something completely different, a whole new world. And I could really see at that point that there was just so many other opportunities outside of teaching that really, really excited me. So I've worked in the business part-time, really, for the last 3 years, watched it really grow. 2 years ago, I did actually have my notice in, and then COVID hit, and I was lured back, but probably quite gratefully lured back, if I'm totally honest. And I've done another couple of years, and that's been really hard. It's been a bit of a tussle, because obviously I've been full-time teaching, which, if anyone out there is a full-time teacher, knows how all-consuming that is. And trying to work within the business, which is
I can only just remember, Ginny, actually. I can only just remember. I think it was 4 or 5 years.
And finally, 2 weeks ago, I actually handed my notice in to finish at the end of this school year, so I can work full time in the business. And I'm really, really excited.
Congratulations, by the way. Congratulations. Give a big applause for that. Congratulations. Well done. Well done.
So that's been my journey so far, and I'm really excited about the next bit.
Fantastic. You know, I'm truly inspired by people like yourself, like Jeremy, watching some of his interviews online just now. It's really truly inspiring to know his journey, how he started from a teacher and then become a network marketing manager, things like that, to now a full-time property investor. It's a really truly inspiring things to do. And now you're coming from a teacher to now going to be full-time property investor. And again, this literally just tells me that if you want to make things happen, it will really happen, especially if you've got someone that would back you up, supporting you to actually get you to why you get you into doing property. So before we get to that, this is for you, for Jeremy. Why was the reason? Why was that? What was the why that literally take you from being a teacher or network marketing person to investing in property? Because there must be a why, because sometimes it's not the money, it's not having amazing houses, it's not that. There must be a reason why you decide to say, you know what, property is the thing I wanted, because network marketing is an amazing business as well. But why did you literally thought about, you know what, property is the thing I want to do in life?
My grandfather, simple, Rahim. My grandfather was that, so on my father's side, there are policemen, 3-4 generations of policemen, and I was penciled in to be a policeman. I remember my grandmother saying to me, what have you decided to do? And I had to tell her that I'm not going to be a policeman. And I just remember that look on her face of, it was almost fear, because that's all they knew. So I came from a long line of employees, and don't get me wrong, I believe they were very good at what they did. They actually looked like policemen, so 6'4", flat feet, and all the rest of it. But on my mum's side, my mum's father was a Cockney, and he moved down to Cornwall with my mum when she was very young, and he was the black sheep of the family because he was an entrepreneur, and he'd lived through the war. He was a sheet metal worker in the war, and he went on to do milk rounds. He took the family over to Zimbabwe, or Rhodesia at the time, to open a tobacco farm, and it didn't work out, so he came back and he started, he was working a small holding, and he tried umpteen different businesses until one day a builder came along to him and he said, look, you've got a very big garden here. And back in the day, it was a nice long garden. And he said, I've got skills, but I don't have any money. How about I build a house on your garden and we'll sell it and we'll split the profit? And at the time, my grandfather, he wasn't trained in property. He didn't know that strategy, if you like. But, with vendor finance and with the position of where he was at that time, he did it and it worked. And he ended up building a terrace, this builder, down one side of the garden. And my grandfather decided he'd have a go and build down the other side. And he went on and built estates of houses. And, sadly, I remember washing his Jaguar, or his big car that he bought when he was too old to really enjoy it. And he was too old really to pass on the knowledge that he had. And for me, he was the main influence on me. And from being a small child, I just remember, I don't know what it is, Rahim, and I don't think this is weird, but with property, it's tangible. It's something that can't be taken away. You can rub the surface of your property. You can drive past it. I just love it. And it's something that's always been. And I'd like to think I've become a more sophisticated investor than just going around touching houses. But I've got the passion, the drive from him. And sadly, like I said, he passed away before I could go on to really get the knowledge that he built up over all of those years. And for my mum, because she'd gone to Rhodesia, she'd missed a lot of education. And when she came back, she failed the 11 plus. Now, that became a big stumbling block for her, and that was quite a negative thing. And she pushed me towards education. And all I wanted was to get out and make money. And, you know, and I understand now as a 50-year-old, it's so much more than just making money. But for me, it's not the physical, it's not driving a flash car, it's the creating a business, a working mechanism with the different parts and putting them in together and seeing them work together and getting people in to work together and creating something that's bigger than any of us and creating opportunities. And thankfully, now in my 50s, I'm now getting to that opportunity. But I went, because of my mum, into, no, that's not fair. I wasn't strong enough at the time to be able to say, Mum, I don't want to go to university. That's not for me. And now I've got twin girls at 23 and a 19-year-old lad. My girls have gone to, well, they're doing university online at the moment because of COVID and all the rest of it. And they'll pay 50,000 each for the pleasure of it. I'm not saying university is wrong for everybody. I'm just saying that, and I don't regret now because I learned a lot of lessons from it, but going back, if I had my time again, I would go out and be stronger in myself and say, no, actually, uni's not the way forward for me. I want to go out, and I don't know what it was at the time. I was running a coaching school for kids at 17 and called Striker Sports in Cornwall, and I employed my brother. In fact, my brother was a partner in the business, and I've always been fascinated about growing something. And that's kind of where I started. But in a short answer to your question, what motivated you? It was my grandfather.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for that, Jeremy. You just mentioned something about property being an asset, a solid asset. I don't know for the people who watch me online and my YouTube channel, I keep on banging on this. Okay, property is a solid asset. The reason why I like it is what you just been pointed there. It's an asset. You can walk past it, you can drive past it, you can visit it, you can hug it, and you can even kiss it. Right? You can kiss the door.
I've done that.
No one will take it away from you. Versus if you had to buy a crypto or you can buy stock and shares, you can wake up in the morning, you got £10,000 worth of shares, it's all gone, right? Or you can wake up, buy your cryptocurrency at 15 or 10,000 pounds. You wake up in the morning, it's gone. So with property, regardless what the situation is, you've got that residual income. Not just that, for me, what brings me the pleasure is when I see someone walk into my house, knowing that I've provided them a home, right? Knowing that they can call that place a home, knowing that they're going to stay there and then bring their kids up in that area. That is the joy it brings to me. Not to talk about the capital appreciation and not to talk about the cash flow it brings in as well. So yeah, I really, really relate to that. And again, looking at your grandfather doing all that sort of thing, realizing he might have done it a bit too late. You now literally taking that baton to actually take it to the next level. It's a very, very inspiring story. So really appreciate you sharing that with us. So then, Jenny,
could I just before we go, I just, there's something really big for me to say. My mum, so my grandfather's daughter, she had the, she wanted the drive to go to university, but she's also dreamt about a family business, and she hasn't had the financial literacy, if you like, or the education. And we've started to work with investors over the last 2 years now. And, Mum was quite interested, and then my brother got interested as we started to have more success. And now she's invested in a company with my brother. And, we've had the absolute pleasure of keeping the legacy alive of my grandfather, if you like. And she owns a company now which has a 6-bed, high-end HMO now in Grimsby, actually, which is currently being let by the NHS, on a very lucrative contract. And we've able to give compliant housing now to overseas nurses and doctors that are coming, because there's a massive demand in the area for people in the NHS, because it's really creaking. But the point is that she's almost fulfilled that prophecy, that legacy from my grandfather of keeping that alive. So it's my brother, myself, Ginny, and my business partner, John Warnes, who are in that limited company. They're shareholders in the limited company. And we're just applying for planning permission for 4 flats on the back of it. And it's quite an exciting way. And it's a way for my mum now to get a good passive income from that and still have that connection with my brother and myself and sit down and have board meetings and make decisions. And it's almost like my grandfather lives on, if you like.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us. Really appreciate that. Jenny, why properties?
Why property? I think it is, for me, I've always been very, very institutionalized because I have been a teacher, and I think you get put into this pipeline where you go into education, you teach, it becomes a passion, it becomes your life, it flows through your veins, and you get so indoctrinated into teaching. And it's not a bad thing, but it's just how it is because of the nature of the job. And I think property has been an opening for me to see that there is so much more out there, and that property is so much more than just the house that you live in. Because for me, probably up until this point, I've always found it, how do people invest in properties? How do people have second homes? How do people go and buy other houses? And it's always been very, very alien to me. And now it just seems the obvious thing to do. And like Jeremy said, it is about seeing a house that you own, or you part own, or that you have an interest in, that you can actually see, and you can watch it being refurbished, you can see the finished results, and all the blood and sweat and tears that goes into it is something really, really tangible. And yeah, I've really, really got the bug. And for me, my why is about doing something different to how I think I was originally programmed to work, if you like. Because after 28 years of being a teacher, I presumed that I would work until I retired from teaching, and then I don't know what my plan was after that.
Which is 65, I think, if I'm right, Ginny.
It's a long time, yeah. I don't think
65
I've been in a very
still
fit
teaching.
state after that. I know, but it's for me, it's just the it's pushing myself to do something completely different, and it's pushing myself completely out of my comfort zone and where I thought I was. And it's really raised the bar for my own expectations of myself and for my children, hopefully, that they can actually see that there is another way, and that mum, who's been a teacher for all of those years, my God, she's gone mad, she's gone and done something completely different. So that's my why. It's teaching my kids to do something different, to create my own opportunities, and to redirect my life. And property happens to be something which I'm really learning to have a passion for, and to understand how it works in terms of investment.
Fantastic.
Ryan,
yes.
Could I say, coming from a teaching background, and we've spoke before we started the podcast, and when Ginny talks about institutionalization, it sounds like a really negative thing, but it is. When you're a teacher, your timetable is set for you by somebody else. You turn up, you teach, you go home, you prepare, and it's a cyclical thing. And lots of people that aren't teachers go, "Oh, you were so lucky to be a teacher. You have all these holidays." That's the first thing that they focus on. And I am the same as university. If your vocation in life is to be a teacher, and you wake up every day and go, "Oh my God, I can't wait to get into school and teach kids," and I think that's awesome. I think it's absolutely fantastic. My concern is for teachers, and I'm getting on my soapbox a little bit here, is when the good teachers start in a school, they're recognised and they're promoted up through the school on a fast track, and they get burnt out. They get absolutely hammered and burnt out. Yeah. And for me, learning about property and because I did start to invest in property as a 24-year-old, as single lets with absolutely no science whatsoever. And I asked my dad, as a policeman, am I doing something illegal? Because the mortgage is this, my rent is this, I've got this left over. And my dad said, I don't know, but why do you want another house? What I'm trying to say to you is, you know, with what I've recognized now, I don't know how many teachers across the country, and there are a lot of teachers that are still in teaching because they are financially committed and they know nothing else. Yeah. And it's a bizarreness that our children are being educated by people who are only educated in school, and they don't get anything outside of that. But there's financial literacy isn't taught in schools, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, and actually, if teachers had a second passive income that was coming in alongside what they do, because they earn reasonable wages. I'm not moaning about the wages. The wages are reasonable. The pensions, even though they're being shrunk, are reasonable. Mm-hmm. Do you know, both Ginny and I can take pensions at 55 now. And, do you know, okay, it's reasonable. But if teachers were educated in how to invest in property to create a passive income, it provides people with choices, so that all of a sudden, if you are in ill health and you need to have a second start, or start a new chapter like Ginny's talking about, you've got an income behind you. You're earning from the rent, you're earning from the capital appreciation. It just gives you options and choices. And my girls are 23 now, and my lad's 19. And I've said to them, you're starting new careers. One of my daughters, Zoe, is really into maths. And she said, Dad, I don't want to be a businessman. And I said, you don't have to be. But if you make your money work for you, or even a percentage of your money work for you, and you start now, by the time you get to 30, if you want to change, if you want to create a different route, have a second chapter, you know, it takes the pressure off you. And I feel really passionate about, and it's not just teachers, do you know, think about the armed services, think about the police force, think about ambulance people, think about public servants who bust their guts and do an amazing job for it. But a lot of them are tied into those jobs because they can't afford to leave if they wanted to. And
absolutely. So it's not your word. You're absolutely right. It's not just those sectors, to be honest. It's the industries, all the industries. Because I had a friend of mine he's someone I know. He's doing really well. He works as a banker. He wants to. I told him, get into properties. He said, no, I don't want to get into properties. It's just too much work, etc., etc. I said, it's because you don't know what you're doing. It's too risky. So he came back to me. I said, okay, you're on 150K, absolutely good salary a year. But imagine if you get run over a bus. Imagine if you had an accident. Just imagine something terrible happened to you. Your employer may be able to pay you maybe a couple of months or a few months. But after that, they're just gonna get rid of you, sadly, and then get you to get on with it. If you haven't got any residual income, right, how would you cope in that situation, right? And then he said to me, Rahim, I've never thought about that, actually. That really makes sense, right? And then I was able to actually transform his mindset to start having that as an idea, right? Now he's investing, he's doing really, really well for himself. But as you just said there, you want to work because you like what you're doing, right? You want to have an option, you want to have a choice, right? Apparently 90% of the people in the UK are not happy in their jobs, right? And they're so stuck in, they've got so many expenses, they can't really quit their jobs because of that. Mm-hmm. But if you can take the leap of faith and say, listen, I'm gonna do this no matter what, it gets you to there. That then begs the question to ask you now, basically, I know you are in your 50s, right? You may be thinking, oh, I should have started earlier, or I should have started yesterday, or now is the best time to actually start. For someone who hasn't even really started their property investment journey, what would you say to them who are just about to start their property investment journey? What would be your advice to those people?
Just do it. Just do it, absolutely. And I've certainly learned that just doing it is very, very liberating. And although it's been hard, and it's been a process, and it's been a journey to actually take the leap of faith, as you've said, now that I've done it, I think, just do it. If you've got an opportunity to do it, and it doesn't mean that you have to completely give up employment and give up a job, but it just means that it's something alongside that you're doing initially. I think it's absolutely crucial, and that's something that I really, really want to pass on to my children, to make sure that they can actually understand this.
Right, absolutely, especially now, right? Let's just take now as a bright example, right? We just came out of COVID, right? We struggled for 2 years, right? Now we've got Ukraine, right? Prices is going up significantly. I think they're saying 10%. I think it's 50%. Okay, and now we don't know what's going to happen next. And salaries or wages hasn't gone up for the past few years, right? If you literally depend on your salary, basically you are literally how do I say this? Because I don't want to be a bit aggressive here. You're actually being left out. Because the same £2,000 you earned a couple of years ago, suppose you got your mortgage to pay and you had £500 to spend on food or your lifestyle, that same £500 will not buy you the same items today.
No, absolutely.
So you are literally losing out. So it is about time for me personally, that I've been telling people, it's about time to start thinking, how can you make passive income? How can you enable your money to work for you, like what Jeremy just said? Because if you're not in that situation, if you're not thinking about that right now, you're literally putting yourself and your family, if you haven't got a family, your future kids into a massive problem. Because if you haven't got that passive income, you hope in your salary, nothing has gone up, and now prices has going up significantly, you're literally gonna start doing something probably illegal or not being patient, something like that. So I'm telling you now, there's so many stuff that happening right now as a result of this that is absolutely crazy. And I can tell people, politicians don't care about you, right? They come back to you when it's time for election, tell you whatever you want to hear. Once they've got their vote, they've gone, they forgot about you. They're not looking after yourself. So again, don't depend in your wage or your salary or job. Find a way to get a passive income. As you just said there, Jenny, you don't have to quit your job, by the way. But if you love it, keep it. If you don't love it, have it as a side, have it as a job, and then start the side hustle into properties. And again, properties is one of the easiest way to actually start, because the barriers of entry is virtually zero, which I was told that I needed 50 or 60,000. I only realized that it wasn't the case. So again, these are the little things I think people are contemplating to literally start thinking about. So on your side then, Jeremy, you've started this property stuff for a long time now. If I remember correctly, I think you're going on and off. You started in 2003, and then now you started again in 2018 or something like that. So what would you tell someone who's just about to start their property investment journey?
But Rahim, I love the passion that you use for that. And for me, if I could just add one last thing, it is about creating your own economy. We as employees, and I've got two brothers, and one invests in property, one would like to. And I know the one that would like to is very controlled about what he hears on the news and the media, and and he hasn't invested in property yet because he hasn't got enough money to, which is answering what you've just said and the barriers to the entry to investment. Property is our chosen one. This is the whole idea of this podcast, encouraging people in there. For me, there's three key things to success in property, and one is education. I swear by, for me, I think we spent £12,000 to get ourselves going. And for me, that 12 months worth of investment in ourselves was absolutely critical to give me the belief and to get me out of my comfort zone of where I was and where I positioned myself, and to position myself around all sorts of like-minded, positive people, because there's always a reason why not. You were talking about age. I love the fact, kids at school, they'll say, oh, I can't be a property investor because I haven't got any knowledge, I haven't got any experience, I haven't got any money. And then the sort of middle age then is, well, okay, I've worked this time and I've got into my career, and I'm getting this promotion and that promotion, I got an extra £20 a month coming in, and why would I put that at risk? And And then you get towards the end of your career and, well, I'm close to retirement now. Why would I suddenly risk that and go out? There's always a reason why not. So get yourself educated, in my opinion. I love the fact that Ginny said, you don't need to just pack it up and go. And Rahim, I know you're a massive action taker, and that's exactly what you did when you first arrived here. And you said, right. And you know, I remember you on that training course, and if I remember rightly, you were an action taker there. And we were talking about working with investors, JVs, and you know, you knew exactly the qualities that you could bring to a joint venture, and you needed at the time capital. And if I remember rightly, you ended up with a dozen people's names of people that wanted to invest in you. Correct. But not everyone has that charisma. Not everyone has that self-belief and drive. But I know that the third and the most important thing, I beg your pardon, education, massive action, which is what you took, and then the mindset. Because you are going to get people that say no. You didn't get that investment at that time from that training program by going, would you like to invest in this property? And the person said no. And you go, see, I told you, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, does it? People that do on rent to rent, and that isn't our strategy, but I hold my hands up to people that go out, because like network marketing, you go out and you ask people, and you work on numbers, you get more skilled, and it reduces the ratio on the numbers, but you've got to get used to people saying no to you. And for those three things are key. Get yourself educated, get out and be prepared to take massive action, and then work on yourself every single day. I spent years trying to convince the people around me, and this is not a regret, this is an observation and something I would redo differently. I spent years, Rahim, trying to convince the people around me that my way was the right way of being an entrepreneur and being a business person and being a property investor. And I spent all this time with, I know now that the people around me, the ones that love me the most, they're never going to go, wow, Jen, that's awesome. Go do it. And give you the affirmation that you need. And I realized now that I had to go out and find a group of people that were able to do that. And I work with newbie investors now, and they go, well, where do I find these people? Do you know, YouTube is full of, if you go on there and you choose, and I'm not just talking about education on YouTube, I'm talking about the positivity. People like Jim Rohn, people like Tony Robbins, people that are masters of personal development. And to be successful in any business, you are going to get no's. I was listening to Richard Branson, who I just think is absolutely amazing, and how he started. And the number of no's that he got, the number of things that they were like hurdles thrown at him. Yeah, and absolutely. He could have fallen at that first hurdle, and Richard Branson could have been a nobody. And you know, he has become successful because he has worked, he's taken massive action. You know, I just love that. So
yeah, absolutely, I absolutely love that. You know, I love using that example because I can see taking action is what gets you to where you want to go. You can get all the knowledge you want in the world. If you're not taking that action, if you're not taking that one tiny little step, you will not get there. Just to go back at the university side of things that you explained just now. People spend £40,000, including myself, or £50,000, went to university only to get themselves £25,000 or £30,000 job. In my case, it was £16,500. So my first job, and I was working for one of the biggest investment firms out there. All my family members thought I was earning shitloads of money at that time, right? But I didn't tell them. But what I asked myself was, I said, so I went to university, get myself £40,000 debt, only to land myself a £16,500 job. You know, the same job someone who in McDonald's would earn. I'm not disrespecting anybody who works in McDonald's, but I'm thinking, why would I spend 3 years only to get this job? I could have get this job easily. And then that gets me to start thinking about, is it university? Is it a scam, or is it just a way to reduce unemployment? That keeps ringing in my head. And then I think, going to university, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but if you can do something better, it's good. Because I remember once, because I do free property investment courses and I do advanced paid courses as well. I've got a student I've done really, really well. Some are financially free, some are full-time in properties. And when it comes to them taking action, for example, jumping onto the mentorship programs or to the advanced courses, then they have cold feet. And if I ask them then, the university job you took that or that made you go into £40,000 debt, how much job or how much has that degree earned you? Most of them would come back and say, oh, I'm in a job that I'm earning £25,000 or £35,000. I said, okay, if you go to my advanced courses, right, where you could pay maybe £800 or £700 or whatever that amount, let's say worst case scenario, right, you're paying £12,000 for it. In your case, that's what you paid. If you can utilize that knowledge and skills instantly and generate,
I think that was the starting point. That was the starting point. We will carry on paying for mentoring.
I know. I'm just giving that as an example, right? Let's say that's a starting point. Okay, you pay that £12,000 now. You invest in yourself. Example, let's say £500, right? You invest that £500 or £800. You learn that skills there and then, which is your financial skills that you just talked about, implement it, and you're able to close a deal at £5,000 if you're sourcing deals, or you're able to get a rental service account that would generate £25,000 a year. It's a better return on your investment than the university degree, right? That's what I've been trying to tell people, because I've gone through it all. I am a chartered accountant. Right? I've done all that.
I didn't know that.
I am. Okay. So I literally, it was a rope in my neck, right? I spent all that money only to realize it's not really worth it, right? The best thing I did is to literally take that leap of getting to invest in myself. As I said, I invested in myself. I've been to Tony Robbins courses. Tony Robbins teach me how to coach. I've been to Dean Graziosis. I've done so many courses. I've paid lots of money to get me to educate myself. I've seen better return in that investment than the university degree investment. So if you're thinking about, oh, maybe I want to go to uni, want to get a degree before I get into properties, I'm not saying don't go to uni, but try property, right? It's literally, it's a thing that will give you a return, abundant return and investment, to me personally, better than your degree. I don't know, let's say doing doctorate, because I've never done a medical degree or a surgical degree, but if it's to do with finance, HR, teaching and all that sort of thing, I think property will give you a better return.
Totally agree.
Agreed. Yeah, really well said.
After coming out of teaching, I just think the whole employee system set up by the government, is genius. Do you know, it's absolute genius. And do you know, people don't question it. They just go to school, go to college, go to university, get a qualification, get a good job, whatever that might be. I mean, if you said 90% of people are unhappy with their jobs, that's really tough. That's a lot
of people.
But you compound that with the unrest, and then, you know, it just, people must be really miserable and looking forward to the weekend.
I was one of those people, to be honest, right? I was one of those people. To me, Friday was my best day. Yeah, Friday, I know today. Saturday, I'm happy. Sunday is my worst day.
You get the gloom.
I start thinking, oh, I'm going back to work. Oh, what am I going to expect? And my employers never appreciate what I do. I used to manage 340 sites. Okay, if I do a silly mistake, the whole floor would know about it, right? Yeah. Then I realized, is this really for me? Right, really for me. But then I took the leap of faith. It took me to where I am today. And you've done the same thing now, Ginny. I'm telling you now, that will transform your life. It will take your life to the next level, right?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I am so excited.
I'm going to be telling you now, it's not going to be easy, right? It is a path. Right, you learn on it every single day. It's a bumpy ride, but once you get to that level, right? Once you've got to that level, you build all that relationship, all that thing. You're doing it for you. You know, it's more fulfilling than doing it because of a salary, or because you've got a mortgage to pay, or because you want to follow the family tree. What they've done, you want whatever they've done, you want to do exactly the same thing. For me, I went to university because I wanted to be the first person to have a degree in my entire family tree.
Wow. Okay.
Right? I'm the first one to have a degree on that. But end of the day, does it really worth it? I started my own recruitment company at the age of 15 years old. Right? I had to leave that basically just to satisfy people's mind. It's like I'm the first one to do it. Looking back, if I'd continue on that, I may be on a different level. Right? But again, it's an experience. It's my journey. It's my that's what makes me unique and different. So for your case there, for example, Jenny, you look back 5 years, you can say, wow, this is where I was, this is where I am now. You can tell a story, a compiling story that would inspire people that may be in the same industry that would take that leap of faith to take.
Yeah, and I think that is a big part of it, because I think, like I keep saying, I've always been such a conformist and done things the right way, in the way that I was shown and it was expected. And I think that is a part of my why as well. It's almost that, oh my God, that's Ginny Lee. She used to be a teacher, and look at what she's doing now. And if she can do it, then God, we must be able to do it. And it's almost that kind of why, if you like, and that's something that really, really does drive me. And already at work, because I haven't talked a massive amount about what I've been doing at school, because it's been very school based, and to keep the professional thing going within the school. But now people have realized that I'm leaving, and they're saying, what are you leaving? What are you going to do? And it's like, oh, I'm going into property. What do you mean you're going into property? What are you doing? And just explaining, and it's almost oh wow. And that's great, and that's what I'm really, really hoping to be able to do, is to talk more to people of my age and stage in life, and younger people, and also pupils as well, because as we've said, that's something that doesn't get taught in school, although we are doing a little bit now. It's still very, 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 very small, very marginal, the amount of financial literacy that youngsters get, and I think it's absolutely crucial that they get more.
Fantastic. And thanks very much for that. Yes, Jerry.
The other thing with teaching is, you train for 4 years to be a teacher, or you train for 3 years to do a degree and then do a teaching qualification. There are a huge amount of transferable skills from teaching. And, our journey of, building a passive income, becoming financially free, but we've actually chosen to go on and go back into an active income, because we're setting up an HMO management company up here. And we're setting up maintenance, and we're setting up cleaning and gardening services, and the end-to-end service. So we're still active, but that's our choice. That's our physical choice, and it's exciting because we're also learning a lot about ourselves and how we work together. Because it's one thing finding a rent-to-rent or sourcing a deal for someone, but actually then building a successful company, you need to make sure that you have the right people doing the right things. And, Ginny and I are, I don't know if you've heard of wealth dynamics, but it's something that's been very, very influential for us, profiling. And, I tend to be the bigger picture, live with my head in the clouds, looking at the next bit of the bigger picture. And Ginny's very much grounded and let's get on with this, leave me alone and let's crack on with this. And it was beforehand, we were clashing on stuff. Now we understand that, we now are able to find other people that we employ that fit into the organization that work with us. But what Ginny's bringing from teaching is a massive skill set of transferable skills. And I think sometimes we forget that. And it's not a regret thing. It's okay, let's look at how we can implement that into the structure of the business, which is the exciting.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that then.